NBA fans, we are less than a week away from the 2023 NBA draft. And in today's show, we got a mock draft coming out for all the real ones. But if you want your favorite team to have a good draft and maybe select the next Nikola Jokic, go ahead and hit that like button. What up, everybody? You're watching NBA Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. In today's show, we're going to recap the most recent ESPN NBA mock draft. They put out a 2-round NBA mock draft, so we're getting a little bit deeper into the prospect pool. And since we are, I wanted to bring on our NBA draft expert, my guy, Nick Roloff. Rolly, how's it going, my man?
Yeah, I'm glad to be here on this show, and I love mock drafts in general, and this draft is so fascinating. I know Marshall and I have had some discussions about if it is a good draft, if it isn't. I firmly believe this is one of the deeper draft classes. Obviously, you've got the big three headlining this draft, but I think you could find a lot of value between 10 and picks 25. I think it could be a really good draft if you finish just outside the lottery to still grab a good player.
Yeah, I think it's a deep draft. I think it may be a little bit more top-heavy than most people are expecting. Also, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel here at Chat Sports because we're going to be live for every single pick of the 2023 NBA draft coming up next Thursday. We're going to be live like 2 hours before. So if you want awesome and entertaining coverage of the NBA draft, make sure to hit that sub button. Rolly, let's get into it, though. No surprises at the top of the draft. Victor Wembanyama, some people are calling him Gen Z Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, going to the Spurs. Is there any way that this guy is just an absolute bust if it's not because of injury?
Yeah, well, when you say not because of injury, no. I mean, there is really no flaw in this man's game. You can argue he has low three-point shooting, but, I mean, when you're 7'5", you're not supposed to shoot efficiently from three. But as he continues to get more reps in the NBA and there's more spacing because of other good players on his team rather than the Mets 92 team, he'll get more open looks. He's very creative. He has this little floater three-point game that James Harden tried to emulate like 2 or 3 years ago, but Wembanyama actually does it. If he can stay healthy, there is a real chance he can be top 15 player of all time.
Yeah, I think just with him, the three-point percentage, due to the degree of difficulty of shots he's taking this year, I think that percentage is going to go up. But he's just too skilled of a player, and he just got great form and nice touch. I think the floor for this guy, if he stays healthy, is a multi-time All-Star, and I really don't think that's too far-fetched. But we got Brandon Miller going number 2. I think we've kind of had a consensus now. It seems like number 1's going to be Victor, number 2 is going to be Brandon Miller, and we know number 3 is going to be with Scoot Henderson going to the Portland Trail Blazers. This pick is interesting to me, Rolly, with the idea that if they're going to bring back Dame, I don't like this pick. But if they move off of Dame, I like the Scoot Henderson pick a lot more. And I know you're more of a Brandon Miller guy, but I think Scoot is actually the second best player in this draft.
Yeah, you look at the comparisons. I know it's tough to what would you rather have. There's the wing in Brandon Miller who can score on all 3 levels, has a really good stroke from beyond the arc, shooting 38% on high volume. He shot 7+ attempts per game from 3 at Alabama. And then there's Scoot Henderson, the slashing point guard that can dish the ball and attack the rim at a really high level. It's all what you want and how you want to build your team. And I know a lot of people can say that the fit between LaMelo and Scoot would be good on Charlotte. I still think that you take a little bit of fit into factor. And I think Brandon Miller as that wing scorer fits better in Charlotte, which is why I would take him number 2. Scoot 3 is fine. You mentioned the Damian Lillard stuff. If they did move off Dame, Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, and Anthony Simons would be one hell of a trio to get that little soft rebuild going.
Yeah, and if I'm the Hornets, I would go with Miller for all of the reasons that you outlined. I think you have a good lead guard in LaMelo, and you're just going to need a wing at this point. And I think Miller's going to be a great pro. I just get some really good vibes around Scoot Henderson. I like the ferocity that he attacks the paint, and I like the fact that he's been in a pro system pretty much playing for the Ignite the last 2 seasons. Look, I think both these guys are going to be great, but I want you to decide who is going to have the better career out of the projected number 2 and number 3 pick of this upcoming draft. Type their initials, either Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson, down below. And then you got the Thompson twins coming up next in this mock draft. Amen Thompson, Rolly. I get concerned that he couldn't really shoot the ball efficiently at all, and it was in the overtime elite league. And you see so often in this league, if you can't make outside shots consistently, you're going to have a really small ceiling in the NBA.
Yeah, Amen Thompson, you can argue, is maybe the best athlete in this draft. He has an explosiveness to him that we haven't really seen. And I know it's a lazy comparison to compare an athletic, speedy point guard that can't shoot like Amen Thompson to Russell Westbrook, but I really feel like it's possible that that is his comparison. And I actually took a different approach to it when I was scouting him, and I have him as like a taller Baron Davis. A really athletic guy who can dish the rock, sees the court well because of his 6'6" frame, but just can speed by. And if he gets a rebound, be a one-man fast break, and attack the cup on the other end, if he could just get that three-point shooting to 32, 33%, his game will be able to be in a full control where he can lead an NBA offense.
All righty. Number 5 in this draft, ESPN had Cam Whitmore, the forward out of Villanova. 6'6", 235 pounds. Usually when you think of Villanova guys, you think of scrappy guys, maybe not the most talented people in the world, but I don't know if you can say the same about Whitmore, obviously going top 5 here. He's really skilled and explosive, and I like the positional versatility that he's going to bring to the Pistons. I love that young core that they have with Monty Williams leading the charge.
Yeah, and Cam Whitmore, there is one knock on him is that he doesn't like to pass the ball, and it's like one of the most unique abilities I've ever seen in a top 10 pick. He just refused to pass the ball at Villanova. When he got it, it's like a black hole. It's either going up or I guess that's really the only option. He likes to shoot the ball, that's for sure, but when you talk about a 6'6" frame, 6'8" wingspan, 230 pounds, he could be a small ball 4, like an Aaron Gordon, like a Patrick Williams, or play the 3.
Number 6, the Orlando Magic selecting the other Thompson twin, Ausar Thompson. How would you compare the two Thompson twins' game, and what's different, and if there is any similarities, what do you got between these two guys?
Well, Ausar is the better defender without a doubt. He has the potential to be one of the best lockdown defenders on the wing in the NBA. They both have the same athletic profile. Listen, they're identical twins, so they have the same 6'6" frame, the same wingspan. Ausar is just more of a 2 to 3 in the NBA, whereas Amen is a point guard. He's going to have to handle the ball. And it's funny that you look at their stats on screen, and you'd think that Ausar is the one who handles the ball, but it's really Amen who has the main control. But both can't shoot the 3. And Ausar, if you're going to be a 2 to 3 and not handle the ball, in this league, you're going to have to be able to hit catch and shoot threes, and he simply can't do that. But the defensive, I guess, outlook on him is so high that is why he continues to be mocked in the top 10.
And they're going to be an interesting case study in the NBA. Really the highest ranked prospects coming out of that overtime elite league. Going to be interesting to see, especially if they do end up being both top 7 picks. And the Indiana Pacers next up, and they selected the forward Jarace Walker, 6'7", 250 pounds, out of the University of Houston. A one and done at Houston, and I love how the Ringer compares him to Larry Johnson and Carl Landry. If you know who Carl Landry is, you're a real hoophead. Next prospect coming up, Anthony Black-Roley. I know you're a big fan of his. How do you like the fit going to Washington and potentially a rebuild going down over there with Beal potentially on the way out?
Yeah, Black is actually my 4th overall prospect in this draft. I'm probably higher on him than most. Actually, it's not probably. I know I am. But his IQ, his height, he's another 6'6" combo guard where he can handle the ball and create offense. A lot of people compare him to Lonzo Ball just because of the IQ, the vision when it comes to the passing, and the frame. But I truly think Black can turn around a team and take control of an offense in any type of system. Now, if he has a running mate at shooting guard or if he plays off ball, he can, but he's just got to improve that shot. But other than that, Anthony Black, I think, is a can't-miss prospect.
I'm a fan of Anthony Black as well, and if he can get that three-point percentage up to just league average, he just plays the game the right way, and he's really going to find a great role in this league. Coming up at number 9, ESPN had Taylor Hendricks out of UCF going to the Jazz. What's the breakdown here on Taylor Hendricks, the 6'8", 214-pound forward?
Yeah, he's the best defensive player in this draft, and I actually am very bullish on Hendricks after maybe not buying into the hype initially, but when you have a 6'8" height and then a 7'1" wingspan, that's just incredible when it comes to the measurables for him. He moves his feet well. He'll be able to stick with 1 through 4 in this draft, and he might even be able to guard a 5 if needed to. And one thing that is overlooked in his draft profile, the fact he shot 39.4% from 3 at the college level, he will be able to step in and be a 3-and-D player right away. He has a lot of Jared Vanderbilt in him defensively, but with a more polished offensive game and a good jump shot, he will be an impact player right away.
Pick number 10, the Dallas Mavericks, after they tanked the last couple games of the season to keep this pick. They're trying to shore up the front court here, according to ESPN. They're selecting Derek Lively out of Duke. Really the first center off the board. Big guy, 7'1", 230 pounds. Some people say he's got a little Mitchell Robinson in his game. And I think, Rolly, the Mavs could really benefit from a big like that.
Yeah, he's a very raw talent, but he can be a defensive anchor of any team. And we know the Mavericks definitely need to improve their defense. So Lively would be able to step in and completely turn around their defense from day one.
And if you guys want to be in the loop and the first people to know who are going to be picked in the 2023 NBA draft, the way you can do that is by hitting that big red subscribe button. We're going to be live for every pick, all 58 selections in the draft next week. We'll be live 2 hours before tip-off, so subscribe and turn your notifications on so we can keep you in the loop. Moving a little bit quicker here, Grady Dick going number 11 to the Orlando Magic. Love the player of Dick. Wonder if he's going to be able to be a guy that can do it on all areas of the court. More of not really a two-way player, but he's got a great shot from outside. You got Kobe Buffkin going number 12 to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Then you got Jalen Hood-Schifino going to the Toronto Raptors. Then Rolly, what do you think about the selection at number 14? I know you got some strong feelings about this guy.
Yeah, Bilal Coulibaly is a prospect who actually plays on Victor Wembanyama's team in French on Mets 92. He might be one of the youngest players in this draft. He's still 18 at the moment, so he'll probably get drafted still as an 18-year-old. But he's another guy who has a lot of potential. I mean, he has a 7'3" wingspan at 6'7". I can kind of compare him to OG Anunoby in a way where he is a very heady defender, can defend at a high level probably right away in this league, but he has very little offensive ability, will need to improve his jump shot, but he does have the knack for cutting and grabbing offensive rebounds. He'll be a good player maybe in 2 or 3 years when he develops a jump shot.
And with Cason Wallace going number 15 to Atlanta, if you had to select one of these guys on screen of the 5 to be the most immediate impact player, who are you rolling with?
Well, Grady Dick's probably the most impactful player here because he just has that three-point shooting. But if I like the best fit and to impact their team right away the most, it would be Cason Wallace. Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. But after that, who do the Hawks have at guard depth? Wallace, a very good defender, a lot of Drew Holiday in him. I think he'd be able to come in and be a lockdown defender when Trae Young sits for 5-6 minutes and let DeJounte Murray take over that offense.
Number 16, one of our fan favorites here inside the Chat Sports Studios, Jordan Hawkins, going to the Utah Jazz, get a knockdown shooter, just a guy that plays the game the right way. Then you got Nick Smith Jr., the guard out of Arkansas, going number 17 to the L.A. Lakers. Then Ryan Rupert, the Frenchman, number 18 to the Miami Heat. Jet Howard, number 19 to the Golden State Warriors. And then number 20, the Houston Rockets, selecting Noah Clowney. I'm going to ask you that same question. Of these 5 guys, maybe the fit and the player you like the best, but I also want you to see who do you not like here, and maybe the fit factoring is in as well as the player.
Well, the best player and the person who will impact their team the most right away is Jordan Hawkins. Him and Grady Dick, the best shooter in this class. Hawkins, lightning fast release, will be able to get open off the ball. And if he gets hot, there's no stopping him. He's my 15th ranked prospect in this class. Has a lot of Ray Allen, Klay Thompson in him. Just not as good of a defender as those two, but the offensive game translates. These 5, it's an interesting fit for Ryan Rupert in Miami. You think when Miami's coming off an NBA Finals run, they'll want to grab another guy that can impact their team right away and potentially help them get over the hump. Rupert's more of a project. I don't even have a first-round grade on Rupert, so this is a bit of a reach for me from ESPN.
Rupert, not a first-round grade. According to ESPN, going number 18 to your Miami Heat. 1 to 10, how mad would you be if that happened?
10 being the highest,
yes.
I'd be furious. So number 15.
Number 21, Keontae George, going to the Brooklyn Nets here out of Baylor. I'm a big fan of George. I think he's one of those players we may look back in like 3, 4, 5 years back. How did Keontae George fall outside the top 20. Some people compare him to a Donovan Mitchell light type of player. I like that. I like the ability. I think in the NBA, being able to get to your spot and getting a shot off is really important. And I think he's going to be a really good player. Then you got James Nagy also joining George, going to Brooklyn. And then the rest of these three, I would say Chris Murray is my favorite, going number 24 to the Sacramento Kings, getting to play with his brother. That'd be pretty cool, Rolly.
Yeah, that would be a pretty cool story. But I really like Jaime Jaquez Jr. Going 23 to Portland. Very savvy player, very heady player. In college for a while, but he can be that prototypical role player that makes a difference 1 year out of the league. And then Podziemski, interesting fit there in Memphis. He is not the best defender. He would get targeted a lot defensively and will need to increase his defensive prowess if he wants to stick around in the league.
You so often see teams, when they finally become winners, they select players late in the first round. So from picks 26 to 30, which one of these guys, and you got some young teams on here as well, do you think could really help a team and maybe a sleeper out of these 5 guys on screen?
Yeah, if you're just talking these 5 guys, I can go in depth if we had all day on Leonard Miller and Olivier Maxence Prosper, Miller has a frame that you could build in 2K, and he is just able to attack the rim and finish with both hands. He's very strengthy. He just needs to develop a shot. His shot form is ugly, but Miller can be a really good defender. And one of my top prospects, I think I had him at 16, 17. I'd have to look back in my rankings. And when you look at Maxence Prosper, another really good defender would be able to be that forward. If you drafted Miller and him, 2 forwards that can play from day one, Miller being the more of the scorer, Prosper being the guy who can chase guys defensively, guard probably 2 through 4.
Love that. You got to hit late in the first round with those first-round picks, especially if you're a team trying to compete for a trophy. Maybe Whitehead could be a missing piece for the Clippers, as they definitely need more guard help, whether they're going to bring Westbrook back or not. Rolly gave you a couple of his sleepers for the 2023 NBA draft, but I want you guys, because you guys are the experts. You know it all. Give me a name of a prospect that you think is a sleeper in this NBA draft. Rolling quickly here through the second round. My favorite prospect of these guys, we were talking about him earlier in the office, Marcus Sasser. I think he's got a little Emmanuel Quickly, Tyrese Maxey in his game, and I don't see how he is a second-round prospect. And you got Bryce Sensabaugh, Andre Jackson, who I know you're a huge fan of.
Yeah, I love Jackson. I call him Draymond Green with a 40-inch vertical. Spurs aren't ready to contend right now, and I like Jackson going to more of a team that is going to be in the playoffs. But if the first 2 picks in this draft were Wembanyama and Andre Jackson Jr., the Spurs' little soft rebuild here under an old Popovich would be underway with a strong start.
Why is G.G. Jackson such a polarizing player?
I like his offensive game, and he has all the talent in the world, but the problem is his inefficiencies. He took a lot of shots for South Carolina, didn't make them, but you can just tell watching him. He has a smooth game, can work in the mid-range, can really hit the 3 ball. I mean, just look back to the game, South Carolina, Alabama in South Carolina. G.G. Jackson was dueling with Brandon Miller for most of that game. Now, Miller ended up dropping 40-plus points in an overtime win, but Jackson was hanging with him for most of it. The top-end talent is there, but he doesn't defend, and he's too inefficient at this point in time.
Yeah, the field goal percentage is really low this year, but you see the talent, and I'm going to be interested to see how he pans out in the NBA. I think the Celtics would actually be a good fit there. A lot of players he could learn from, Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Number 36, Colby Jones going to the Orlando Magic. Then you got Julian Phillips going 37 to the Denver Nuggets. Jalen Wilson going to the Sacramento Kings. Jordan Walsh, number 39, going to the Charlotte Hornets. Then another G League Ignite player, City, going number 40 to the Denver Nuggets. Any strong or, maybe polarizing thoughts about any of these guys?
Yeah, I'll just quickly touch on City Sissoko here. And I've seen him mocked as high as 16 throughout this process. Obviously, ESPN has him going here at 40. He's got a great frame and a lot of talent, but he can't really dribble. And the fact he's kind of labeled as a guard forward, kind of a disaster. He's a deep project, would likely spend the first year in the G League again under whatever team drafts him.
This next 5 right here, are there any players right here that you feel like are being slept on a little bit much, that fell too far in the draft, or is this the right range for some of these guys?
I actually think this is the right range for most of these players. You can argue Amari Bailey maybe a little bit higher. I heard he had a really good scouting combine, controlled the game a lot as a ball-handling guard, former 5-star recruit, played at UCLA. If you remember the name, it's because Drake took his mom on a date when he was back in high school. But Amari Bailey, a lefty, smooth, has a nice jumper. I think he's a second-round steal that could find his way on a roster right away and really maybe add 5 to 6 points a game throughout the course of the season.
Number 46, Keontae Johnson out of Kansas State, going to the Atlanta Hawks. I know you said you're interested in his type of game. What do you think he's going to bring to the Atlanta Hawks?
Keontae Johnson, he's built like a brick house, and if you also remember him, he unfortunately had that scare when he was at Florida. He collapsed on the court mid-game. Luckily, he figured it out, almost had to retire, but he's back playing. He's a really good defender and will find himself on a roster and will not be in the G League to start off because of that defense. Defense always travels, and if you can defend, you can play. So if he's able to hit a three-point shot consistently, he'd be a nice little 3-and-D off the bench. But before we move on, shout out to Jalen Pickett, Penn State guard from Rochester. That's from where I am. Shout out to
The Rock. Shout out to The Rock, baby. Closing out this second round, we got 4 more picks after this, but everyone wants to know about Emoni Bates, one of the most talked about high school recruits coming out. Didn't work out in college for him, but Rolly, the talent is there. Can he make it work?
Yeah, and a lot of the questions I have for him is his defense. Like, will he put in the effort? And how is he handling the ball and playmaking for others? We know that he likes to get his shot for himself, but can he create for others? You're going to have to if you want to make this a roster in the NBA.
And if he can learn from anybody, Kevin Durant, I mean, is there a better fit for Emoni Bates? I know the Mavericks are a team he's talked about, but if I'm Bates, I'm cool with learning from KD early in my career.
Yeah, I mean, especially when they called him Baby KD when he was in high school as a 5-star recruit. Number 1 in his class before a lot went down between Michigan State decommitting, Memphis, and then Eastern Michigan.
Closing out the NBA mock draft from ESPN, 2-round special, Final 4 picks. Do you like anyone in this Final 4 to be a player in the NBA one day?
Yeah, I actually really like Jordan Miller, the forward out of Miami. Lefty, really smooth offensive game. Now there's questions to see if he could defend in the NBA, but he has a knack for rebounding. He's got that dog mentality. If you remember watching him go on that March Madness run, he was really one of the catalysts. In the Elite 8 game, he was almost a perfect 11 for 11 from the field. Has a really good mid-range, can step back, hit the 3. Polished offensive game for someone you're finding this late in the draft.
Sunogo, no love?
I love Sunogo, but I don't know how he fits in the NBA.
Just attack the glass. Attack the glass. Can he be this year's Jericho Sims, who, a guy that was one of the last picks of the draft, got himself a 3-year guaranteed deal. Sunogo, there's always room for people that attack the glass like that. I want to know this, though. Are you pumped up for the NBA draft? I know we are here at Chat Sports. We're going to crush it like we always do. We're always number 1. That's why we're Chat Sports. We're number 1. So if you're excited for our coverage, type me in the comment section right now. And remember to make sure to subscribe because we're going to be live for all 58 picks of the NBA draft. We're going to have it broken it down from every single angle. You'll hear from Rolly, your guy Chase Sr. All the real ones are going to be here. Make sure you're here. Subscribe and turn your noties on.